Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we're going to have a little chat about our New Year's hobby resolutions. Now, it's tradition, of course, at the advent of New Year, to make a list, stuff that you will absolutely do, and then forget about roughly a month in. And we're not talking the standard, boring, irrelevant stuff like losing weight, getting fit, drinking less, none of that, load of bollocks. Instead, we're going to focus on the important thing, which is what you're going to do with your hobby in the new year, because that's the most important thing anyway, right? And I did initially think to myself, well, actually, I've only got one particular thing I want to do, which is branch out from dreadnoughts, pretty much. That's it. There's not much more to it. And then I thought about it, and actually, that's not difficult. That's not a particularly hard resolution. And it's also something that I've been doing anyway, because for all that I've painted quite a lot of dreadnoughts this year, a lot of dreadnoughts. I think I've painted 18 dreadnoughts this year, which is a silly number of dreadnoughts. Absolutely ludicrous. Why would you? And yet, I've still got 4 more to paint. Anyway, whilst I have painted a lot of dreadnoughts, I've also painted quite a few other things. I mean, I've painted most of my Chaos Knight. I just need to finish it off. There's literally just a bit of highlighting to do here and there, and it's done. So that lad there. I also did repaint that Chaos Knight as well. I've not finished it yet, but it's for the most part, it's tabletop ready. Both of them are. So I've not just painted dreadnoughts. There's also been a ton of D&D stuff that I've painted, and it's not that tricky a resolution because I've already done it. However, there is something that I would like to do sort of alongside it and in a similar vein. For a start, as well as branching out from painting quite as many dreadnoughts, I want to finish the backlog that I've actually got. See, I still haven't finished painting the Primaris side of Dark Imperium, which are down here, kind of around there, behind that codex, just there. In front of, not behind. And I really haven't painted them because I didn't find a colour scheme I really liked. Nothing resonated with me. I tried doing black with a red arm and like a white skull helmet, which I quite liked to start with, but I just didn't really know where to go from there. It didn't grab me in the right way. I would like to paint that Primaris force up to match the Dread Mob. And there are changes I'm going to make to the Dread Mob. For the most part, they're going to get repainted, but it's stuff that is not that difficult to do and largely revolves around just going over certain panels with black and gold, just expanding out the colour scheme a bit. So, whilst they do need some work doing, it's not a lot of work and it's not hugely time consuming. It's something that realistically could be batch painted in like a week, maybe even less actually, if I manage to get a good couple of hours in every day. But outside of that, because I don't want that to be the focus this year, to just be dreadnoughts again, my main aim is to get rid of the backlog, so to paint the Primaris stuff that I've got, finish painting the 2 knights behind me, which are in decent playable standard already. It's not like they're unpainted. There's just a few details here and there I need to pick out, and then they'll be done. I want to do the Sisters of Battle box, which is still down here, hidden behind the microphone. I've got a colour scheme in mind for them, and actually painting them in terms of like backlog isn't going to be that tricky. To be honest, they're going to be mostly contrast. I recently had a chance to mess about with the Apothecary White a bit more, and they're going to be black and white. Both of which I'll use contrast for, because Black Templar is a really nice black paint, and Apothecary White makes white a lot easier. And since they're going to be a bit, not Dread Mob grubby, when I say grubby, don't worry, they're not going to be covered in rust. I'm going to be trying something a little bit different with them. They're, again, not going to be all that tricky. Really, what I'm going to aim to do is expand out of the Dreadnought side of things by painting up the backlog, painting stuff that I've had lying around for a bit and haven't got anything done with, like the Primaris, like the Sisters of Battle, and really focus on painting some bigger, more organic things. I'd quite like to get one of each of the Greater Demons done. That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun to mess around with the dry brushing stuff. The same thing that I've done on the Lady of Arcana up there. I'd quite like to expand that out to different types of models, different surfaces, different textures, and see what happens, because I've been really enjoying painting that model. I'd actually really like to start a Xenos army. I did have the opportunity sort of last year, but then, well, I say I had the opportunity to. The Tyranids box for Apocalypse, I believe it was, was very tempting, but a friend of mine had an issue, and so I ended up using what would have been that box for me for them. So I didn't get a chance to actually start that up. And I think this year I'd quite like to do some sort of big gribbly army, big monstery type force. That alongside the greater demons, I mean, that's big models, but being tackled in a way that I haven't tackled before, using painting methods that until recently this year I hadn't tried before. So I guess it's like stepping out of the comfort zone of quick and easy paint jobs that I've been doing on things like the Dreadnoughts and moving into more complex models and more complex textures and stuff. Plus, I'd quite like to have an actual Xenos army. I talk about the fact that they don't get enough attention constantly, but I've never actually... Well, that's not true. I have had them before. I just haven't had one for a while. I've had Necrons, I've had Orcs. I started a Tau army ages ago, but they've all either been sold on or they've been given to people to use for their own armies, and I haven't actually had a full Xenos force of my own for quite some time, and I'd quite like to get back into that side of things. Alongside that, really, is wanting to delve into a massive project, like a really big project. Something that I've had an idea for quite a while is essentially a display piece for the Dreadmob, or at least bits of the Dreadmob. What I'd really like to do is to take 2 Baneblades, the Sky Shield landing pad, some of the haulers, the cranes that you can get from Games Workshop, and a couple of other terrain pieces, and essentially create a rolling repair platform for the Dreadmob. Now, of course, it wouldn't have any rules. I wouldn't be able to use it for anything, but as something that could be part of, like, say, an Armies on Parade entry or something like that, it would be a fun project to work on, and it would be a case of building an entire tank/structure from scratch rather than simply, kit bashing or converting an existing model using other parts. It would be a case of making something new and unique as opposed to simply altering something that I already had before. That's something I'd really like to get into, something I'd really like to maybe not... I'm not going to say finish by the end of the year, because it might be a bit of an ask to do that, repaint the Dreadmob, do all the Primaris stuff, do all the Sisters of Battle, start a Tyranid army, and paint all 4 Greater Demons. That might be a bit of an ask, because, I mean, free time is kind of at a premium when you've got a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, but I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility to achieve. It might not be finished by the end of the year, but I'd at least like to have it constructed by the end of the year. And really, I think for the most part, that's it. There are kind of things related to, like, just improving painting as a whole would be nice. But that's stuff that will come from stepping outside of my comfort zone. That's stuff that will come from, repainting the Dreadmob to some degree. It will come from painting the Sisters of Battle, because they're a lot more delicate than a lot of the models that I've painted recently. It'll come from using things like contrast, stepping outside of what I do on a standard day-to-day painting basis. And it'll definitely come from things like painting Tyranids and painting Greater Demons, because that'll be using a technique that I've only learned recently, but will be given a chance to expand on and just get better with. So, in terms of what I want to achieve next year, that's pretty much it. Bit of repainting an existing army, catching up on the backlog, which actually shouldn't be too difficult, he said, confidently, optimistically. I wonder... I'm going to assume quite a few of you are sitting there going, you are not going to manage that. It's not going to happen. You see, you think you've set yourself realistic, achievable standards there, but you actually haven't. That's not what you've done. You're probably right, but you know what? You've got to be optimistic about it, otherwise what's the point? Branch out. Properly start a Tyranid force. Now, to be honest, for the most part, I think I'm going to stick to the larger models for Tyranids, because those are the ones that I like the most. Once again, I'm not aiming for something massively competitive. I'm not aiming for something that I can place on the table and be like, I can guarantee that I will win this because it's min-maxed to hell. I don't care about that. I never have, and it's entirely likely that I never will. But I would like something that is a bit of a spectacle. Something that is maybe a little bit different to how they are standard, but still totally recognisable. Obviously, I can't help myself. I just like changing stuff up. But something that has a definite intimidate factor to it in terms of, oh, that's a lot of very big, very, like, very, very monstery Tyranids that you've got there. That and painting the 4 greater demons just to have like a little collection of that, I think is mostly, for the most part, relatively achievable, relatively realistic. Building the big scenery piece is something that I would really like to do, but I'm not setting that as a hard goal. That's something where if it's constructed by the end of next year, I will be happy with. If it's not, I would hope to at least have got a decent amount of kind of work into it at the very least. But we'll just have to see what happens. You never know. Something miraculous may occur, or something awful may occur that puts all plans on hold. But that is pretty much what I've got in terms of what I would like to achieve hobby-wise next year. Question is, what are you going for? If you've got any specific plans, any specific goals or wishes that you desperately want to do next year, is there anything you're going to completely focus on just go single-minded, this is what I'm doing, nothing else? Let me know what you're intending to do in 2020 for your hobby time in the comments down below. Feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't if you don't want to. And as always, there is a affiliate link in the description for Element Games, where if you click it and buy something, I get something for sending you that way. You save a bunch of money because it's way cheaper than buying from Games Workshop, and 10% of anything that you spend will go to charity at the end of the month. So that's a thing you can do to support the channel if you'd like to. You don't have to. I leave it entirely up to you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.